Mr. Attorney General, I also want to ask you about the Durham probe, because there's a tremendous amount of focus these days on the timeline here. When are we going to find out? I know there are going to be things that you can't say, or things that are not yet even known or perhaps handed in to you about the Durham probe. But can you tell the people listening to this across the country right now that if it is your belief that if Durham finds pure, clear criminal activity, that he'd be willing to indict, or willing to request, rather, that there be an indictment, even if it means that there would be some political backlash?
I've made clear that what part of what he's doing is specifically seeing if any criminal laws were violated, and if they are, people will be held accountable. And I've also said that, we are going to proceed with this investigation and not put it on hold right now during the election season. We're all aware of the calendar, and we're not going to do anything for the purposes of affecting an election. But we are trying to get some things accomplished before the election.
Is the Durham investigation in the latter stages?
I'm not going to comment. I'm just going to, there are some things we'd like to get accomplished before the election as soon as we can.
Fair enough. Also want to ask you about your opinion of the ongoing prosecution of General Flynn. There were the oral arguments earlier this week heard before the Court of Appeals en banc, all of them together, and this may keep going. You were involved in this case because of the decision to stop bringing a prosecution against General Flynn. Two things. One, have you ever seen this happen before, where a judge, in this case Judge Sullivan, kind of continues a prosecution that the state, or rather in this case the federal government, the executive branch, does not want to happen? And what is really going on here, Mr. Attorney General?
Well, no, I haven't seen anything like it. I mean, up until now, it's been very clear, not just that decisions as to prosecution are solely vested in the executive branch, namely the Attorney General, but in the federal government, but also that there's absolute discretion as to whether, or if a decision is made not to proceed with a case, that's really absolute discretion, because there's no one else in a position to prosecute a case other than the executive. So, this is a very unusual situation, and the judge has been very outspoken about this case, and obviously is very invested in the case, and seems to want to keep it going. But I think I've had another U.S. attorney take a look at this case, get into all the evidence, and it's very clear that there's just a voluminous evidence that was never turned over to Flynn or Flynn's lawyers that show that the FBI did not believe he was a Russian agent, did not believe that he had lied, and that the basis for the interview was not linked to any bona fide investigative purpose that the FBI had. So given those factors and the conduct of the FBI, I exercised my discretion to say we were not going to proceed with this case. And I think at the end of the day, that decision will stand.
Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.